And welcome to the Between Two Wheels podcast, stage 6, 17, and 18. We're going to recap those real quick here today. Look, there's supposed to be sprint, kind of like mediocre days, and we had a sprint as expected, and then we had some chaos. We have defending champions having some trouble, and the current champion, do you call him that? The guy that's in the race lead seems to be doing fine, but it's coming all to a head this weekend with some massive mountains. Episode 374, Between Two Wheels podcast, coming up right now. And welcome everybody. I hope you're doing good today. Between Two Wheels podcast. This is Tyler. Tyler Yonke. We're going to recap stages 17 and 18. Missed out on yesterday's stage because I had shit to do. That's just what happens. Court. I'm a licensed attorney that actually practices law, and I do this bike race shit on the side. Hope everyone's doing good. Remember to like the show, subscribe so you get those notifications because you never know when we're coming at you, but we continue to do so. We saw Wout van Aert on stage 16 bail out, getting a crash. Don't know what he was really doing up the road. I guess he was going for all those points. I have a problem with the way that Visma Lease Bike races this for Sepp Kuss. There's 3 vital spots that have happened in this race that I think that have lost him minutes, okay? Now, there was if you go to Jumbo Visma online, excuse me, they posted a video of the first 2 rest days basically with Sepp Kuss, and Grimmen Nierschen, or whatever his name is, the director, comes in talking to him. He's like, look, top 10, we're really pushing to get top 10. I'm like, okay, well, Wout's up there winning stages, great for him, that's good for the team. But if you have the defending champion, and maybe some of this comes into play of like they know a little bit behind the scenes that Sepp isn't quite on par, you can definitely tell. But do you do anything to help put him in position to win races? Hopefully you do, and he's a defending champion. It'd be kind of nice to come back this. You have had lackluster Grand Tour results compared to last year because you won all 3. This year you did get second in the Tour de France, but even that was not really quite up to par to what we expected. So let's get into stage 17. We're going to do that one first. Let's see. Anero to Santander, 141 kilometers. I think the important thing to note on this one is the short distance, okay? It's under 100 miles. So, I put that into perspective. I get annoyed with Peacock during the Tour de France because they do stuff like they put everything in terms of let's see here. I wanted to change this format here. They put everything they have on the screen. It's like kilometers, and they hurry and switch it to miles. So those dumb Americans can at least understand the difference. Just do a quick calculation. Take half of it and then add 10%, and you've got the miles of the kilometers. So perfectly fine. But 141 kilometers is under 100 miles, just so you guys know. So which means it could be on for the whole day, could be going pretty good. And so when you get a break going up the road with some of these twisty roads and stuff, you don't necessarily let them just get up in the road, get up and away. Victor says he liked, and he says, yes, we're live. Thank you for joining us, Victor. So you get 4 of these riders going up the road. Let's see if I could name them off here. You had Thomas Champion. You had Jonas Gregard, you had Thibaut Gernelac, and Isasa Jabier. Okay, Zabier. These guys are up the road doing fine, and they get 3-4.5 minutes, and it's just not coming down. The riders behind, and then the weather turned bad. They're up there, near the Basque Country. There were, Caden Groves. You'd think this would have been a perfect stage for Caden Groves and or Wout, but Wout's not really in the picture for this stage because he, crashed on his knee the day before doing stuff up the road. Was he going to win that stage? I don't think so. And so, what are you doing up there? And then also, you're not setting yourself up good for the next day when you can. I guess, I don't know. The green jersey was already, without a doubt, his. I guess he was going for the KOM jersey to do some more stuff. it blows me. I don't know why you're doing. Anyway, he would have been perfect for this one. He's not in there. You had Team DSM, Alpecin de Koenig, and then Kern Pharma, because they have their guy Pau Miguel. He's been doing decent sprinting. You had Bittner for DSM. You had obviously Caden Groves for de Koenig, who's already got a stage win as is Bittner. The intermediate sprint was won by the guys up front, but Caden Groves did get second place on that, or he got the field sprint for that perfectly fine, quite easily. The rain starts coming down, and the break is not coming down fast enough. So you still got these teams on the front doing everything you can. The last 2.6 kilometers, you still had one rider up the road. I think it was Gernelak. Thibaut Gernelak was still up the road, and then you had a guy making a break, which was Schmid, the Swiss champion. We've seen him before. Max Poole jumps on his wheel. The announcers kept calling it Limreze, but it wasn't. They connect with Gernelak. He kind of sits on for a bit, then goes through. And then you have Max Poole and Schmid up there in the last 2.3 kilometers. Then you get an attack out of the field from Karpenets. He sits on as well. And the teams are still trying to do what they can because it's all slick. It's rainy coming into the finish, and you need to bring these guys back. They haven't been brought back completely. Back in the last 1 kilometer to go, you have the last right-hand corner being let out, and you can see that Schmid is pulling those two guys, Max Poole and Kampenertz. I mean, I don't know who. I guess Kampenertz would be the win for that one, but Schmid is really going for it as well. Alpecin de Koenig come into the last corner. They catching the guys perfectly fine into the last one. Max Poole kind of tries to hit it along with Carpenter. It's no big deal. Caden Groves pounds it from the right side of the road with Bittner on his wheel. Bittner never has a chance to come around. I'm glad everyone stayed upright. Corbin Strong was up there as well. And then you had the win by Caden Groves for stage 17. Caden Groves, Pavel Bittner, Vito Bratt of Intermarché, Wanty, and then Paul Miguel of Equipo Kern Pharma. Corbin Strong, Israel Primatek in 5th place. Kampenertz and Eddie Planker kind of wrap out that top. Max Poole ends up coming in at 12th place. Now, there was some bad things that happened here. Bunch of guys losing time here. Vlasov, I think. First of all, Mike Woods was DNS, as was Sandra de Pastel. But I think Vlasov ends up losing like 10 minutes, I want to say, something like that. See if we can even find out where he is. I don't know what happened to him. He got kind of distance on a spot here. So as far as GC goes, let's see, time. Let's go time one lost. I know you don't see this on the screen here because it'll show me. Okay, there you go. 13 minutes down. So Vlasov moves 4 places down to 17th. Kind of puts them out of that ability to do much as a team there as far as like playing a second fit. Another person coming in here to kind of disturb things, like taking a break and going up the road. Oh, now he gets his chance for today. Stage 18, let's go to that one. Stage 18 was Vitoria Gasteiz to Masju Park Natural de Izki, 179.8 kilometers. And it had some lumps in it, ups and downs, just fine. Let's present this to the screen. Where'd it go? I don't know what happened to it. I got to find it up here. Vuelta stage 17. Something happened to it. I lost it here. Okay, well, we'll bring it back here. So this is a decent road, and you'd think for the most part, you're like, I don't know that it's going to be much of a problem. For the GC riders, it's going to come down to something similar to what we just had yesterday, which was coming down to a sprint finish, right? And possibly it's going to be just, I'm sorry, I lost my Vuelta stage highlights 18. There we go. Finally found him. Okay, let's bring that up on the stage here. Now, tuning in this morning, big break up the road. I mean, a huge break. Yeah, bicycle, as they're advertising, is a place for. Okay, huge break up the road, and I think I have a list of all the guys for that. But I'm not going to go through them, but we'll just list off some of the important ones. Vlasov is up there now. Kreuzwick and Attila Walter are up there, okay, for Visma. Cantaneo for T-Rex, Sodal, Landis teammate. Max Pool's up the road there. Tejada, Izagiri, Kung, Soler, McNulty, Van Sevenot, also for T-Rex. Narvaez for Ineos, Barada for Kern Pharma, Castrillo, who's got 2-stage wins, he's up there for Kern Pharma as well. Pau Mikel, he's also up there for Kern Pharma. And remember, he just got, 3rd or 4th yesterday in the sprint. Schmid is up there. Grigard was in the break yesterday. He's up there. And then you had some EF riders. Shaw, Duel is up there. Lescano up there for Movistar. And Sheehan up there for, along with Sheehan up there for Israel Premier. But Pedersen is also up there. So you have, 3-4 riders for EF. You have 3 or 4 riders up there for, or 2 riders for EF, sorry, 3 or 4 riders up there for T-Rex, and then 2 riders up there for Visma Lisa Bike, and then Vlasov is up there as well. So anyway, the point is, decent riders up the front, and you've got some. We've talked about this. We've talked about this before, which is about sending satellite riders up there. It's a great method to do, sending someone up the road so they can support you or to go up for stage wins. But if your team leader is having trouble and there's some climbs here and the guys left back there aren't able to do anything for him, now we've got trouble. Okay, and we're going to end up seeing that on today. Okay. So anyway, here's the break that's going up the road, 100 kilometers to go. They're getting a decent little break up there. Euskaltel misses this 40-some rider break. I don't know how you miss it when everybody is in there, but they did miss it. So they were trying to send themselves up there. Soler's up the road, basically trying to take KOM points away from Jay Vine, his teammate. Perfectly fine. He's getting those on the road. Kung makes a little break up there with Schmid, and I'm not sure if that was Pedersen. No, not Pedersen. I'm not sure who the other rider was with them at the time, but it was a little Trek rider, and they had a teeny little bit of a break up the road, trying to get over the main group, but it's kind of futile because these climbs are pretty hectic as they are. There's a dog in the road. Back in the group that's chasing these ones here, once again, you had Cantnail, you had Kreuzwick. Kreuzwick looked okay, but Kreuzwick hasn't looked great this whole tour, right? He's not been up. He's had some injuries and stuff, but he has not been able to support Sepp Kuss in a way that, on some easy climbs he's been distant. So I'm like, why the F are you up the road right now? You should at least be back there protecting stuff. There's no chance you're going to be winning out of this break. It's not a climby enough. Even if you were flying, you're not going to do anything with it in that terms. And then you've got guys here that can just roll much faster than you. So horrible, I think, decision for Visma Lisa Bike to send Kreuzwick out the road just to waste his legs, and we'll see if that comes into play. McNulty, Soler, meanwhile, is grabbing a bunch of points, and then back in the pack, you have an attack here by EF, and I could not see at the time exactly where some people were positioned, but you had Carapaz start to go, and immediately it's broken out. It's pretty steep, short climbs, but it's pretty nasty. You have Carapaz, Enric Mas, Roglic, Ben O'Connor jumps on the wheel, and it's immediately just 4 of them, and then there's a few stragglers. Landa's having trouble. Carapaz keeps putting in more digs. Skirmels is up there. Gadu makes his way up to this group, and then there's a gap behind, and immediately this grows out to about a minute, and it's got Sepp Kuss is having trouble. Yates is having trouble. Landa's having trouble. And none of them really are having teammates around them to do much of anything. And that's what the problem is. Remember, we just mentioned there's like 4 counted T-Rex, Soudal, Quickstep, whatever they are, riders up the road that are not there to actually support Landa at the time. And I surmise what happens, because you can't just go, I don't think he just goes this bad on the day, right? And there's the group with Landa. It's got I think Christian Rodriguez in there in the yellow jersey for Arkea. It's not Sepp Kuss. And I think is what ended up happening in this situation, which was they started to scream and going up this climb. Someone like Sepp Kuss, Adam Yates, Landa, they don't expect that there's going to be a split. They don't expect that there's going to be an attack. It's just one of these days, and they're not paying attention, and they don't have teammates, and then they try to they get gapped, and then they try to do big efforts to get up there. Well, meanwhile, they're not making it up there, and then they end up blowing themselves up. And you have no teammates around to help, so you come over a few of these pitches, and then you've got to drill it down because your GC is going up the road, and then you are a lightweight guy. You can't do what Sepp did in stage 7 for miles and miles on end. and you are in trouble. And I think that's what happened. I need to go back to the film to actually see where they were in positions. Well, Landa's getting distance here, and they call Cantaneo back from the front group. Meanwhile, the front group up here, you have Kreuzwick makes an attack, and Barada for Kern Pharma goes with him. And they have a bit of a gap. This Barada guy immediately comes up to you. You being Kreuzwick is not at all being able to distance him. This guy takes a look here, and then Barada, and then just puts on the hammer and immediately distance Kreuzwick, and it's not even funny. I mean, he's gone, and he's got about 10 seconds or so. The group behind is disintegrating pretty much all over the place. Barada ends up going over the top of this climb, comes around the downside, solos himself in for the win quite nicely, actually. And then his teammate, Paul Michael, barely gets pipped at the line by Schmid for third place. So Kern Pharma goes 1-3. And at the very back of this group, you can see him right back there. There's Kreuzwick. He's way back. Now, they had Castillo. They had Paul Michael, and they being Kern Pharma, and they also had Barada, who all three of those guys were in front of Kreuzwick. I don't know what you're doing up there. Personally, it was embarrassing because what happens is Sepp Kuss loses minutes on the day, where I think it could have been, something could have been saved. Meanwhile, you have the group coming in here with I think this is the red jersey, or maybe this was the Sepp group. No, this looks like the red jersey group coming in 6.5 minutes back. Ben O'Connor saves his day quite nicely. Okay, Victor says, what is the Vuelta España level of difficulty for stage 20 mountains? I think it's over the top difficult, and we're going to preview that when it does come up to make sure that we get a good chance of looking at that. Let's share the screen here and take a look at these results, because I want to just go through stage 18 on today. Okay, so here's the result out of the today, and we're going to then go to GC and see how bad this ended up for everybody. Time won, lost. Look at this. Mikel Landa, Yates, Sepp all lose 3:20, so Sepp probably stays in 11th, 12th place, moving down here, but he definitely moved himself very far away. I mean, if he would have been able to hold on today, he would have scooted himself up easily into the top 10. He would have gone up into the 10th place rather than going down, losing 3:20 on the day. So it's just disappointing. I don't know exactly what happened on there, but Ben O'Connor stays in the lead with 5 seconds. Points jersey goes still on Caden Groves. I mean, he's winning at the same distance that Wout was winning it on him. KOM jersey now by 1 point to Mark Soler over his teammate Jay Vine. So we'll see what happens there. The youth jersey goes to Carlos Rodriguez. Same, no time one loss there. Mateo Skilmos and Florian Lipowitz. Max Poole moves up a spot, and Riccatello moves down into 5th place. And the team classification UAE Team Emirates still killing it for us there. All right, so here's the stage that we had today. See this Cat 1 here. I mean, it would have been nice for some support, but they killed it over this Cat 1 with Carapaz just attacking really hard. And I think it was just a surprise because there's no reason that a Sepp Kuss, who the day 2 days before, let's go up to stage to the Covadonga, where he was just a few seconds off of Roglic and all those guys attacking over the top there, that he would lose 3.5 minutes on a stage like this today. I mean, it's crazy, and I think that's all comes down to teammates and positioning. So there you go for tomorrow. It was tomorrow, Friday, stage 19. We hit up the Alto de Moncalvillo, 8.6 at 8.9%. Has a Cat 3 before it. It's a total distance of 173 miles, so a long slog up here in this Cat 3 down the valley. You're going to need your teammates with you, and then hitting this last part. We'll see if anything changes. And I would be interested to see tomorrow if Sepp Kuss, as a matter of fact, does well, or if he tries to get in a break to move himself up. And if he ends up doing well, then you're going to completely blame it on the teammates for not being able to do it. Deplorable Bitter Klinger says, shame that Wout is out. Yes, Wout had a good chance today. Yesterday, you might have seen doubling up on those ones pretty nicely. Roglic has been looking iffy lately, and maybe it's a strategy so his team doesn't have to do all the work. I don't think it's a strategy. You don't I'll just say this, Brian Zimney. I don't think you ever want to put yourself in position where you're not taking the lead when you need to be continually taking seconds. You're not up there. If you're in the lead doing those kind of things, I think that would be the case. I honestly believe here's Roglic, which is we've seen him almost exclusively, except for last year's Vuelta, had a bad day at some point, some bad times. He did not appear to have any times of problems last year, but then again, neither did Sepp and neither did Jonas in the Vuelta. But we've seen him in almost every other race he's done. He's had some bad times. He's got back issues that keep kind of flaring up in him. There's this premise out there too that the harder that he has a great acceleration and an ability to hit his threshold for a shorter distance. You see that with these short pitches. So they've come to the conclusion that for Roglic, you take it easy on these stages, and then coming to the last climb, he blows everyone out because they can't do the watts per kilogram that he can do for a short time and period. Unlike Jonas and even Ben O'Connor, which is you make it hard all day long, and then they just soak you on that last climb. So there's that part of it into it too. It'll be interesting to see if the strategy still plays itself out and what happens. I think Roglic is just not primo this time. He's obviously riding really well, and you look at what he's put into Enric Mas as an example in 2021 final time trial on the very last day of the Vuelta, minute 20. So and it was a little bit longer than the final time trial that they have this time. So he's still got that in his back pocket if he doesn't lose time. But it's exceptionally interesting to see what happens. Watt Police Pod said the early stages he was putting out career best watts per kilogram. Perhaps true. The problem with that is, once again, those were short, steep climbs, exactly what the premise I was just talking about. What was it, stage 4, stage 6, or was it, where you had steep pitches coming in there, the very first one that would come around, the 2.8 kilometers or whatever it is. That's exactly what we're talking about. But there's still guys riding with him, which he hasn't really been able to get rid of Enric Mas as an example for that. So anyway, that's what we have for stage 19. Let's go into stage 20 here. 172 kilometers, and now this one is a beast. This is what Victor was asking about. I mean, it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 climbs. 1, 2, 3 of them are Cat 1s. There's no HCs, but it's not looking good. With the final climb, has some really steep pitches, averages at 9%. So that Saturday race will be somewhat tough. Now, one other person here to take in mind is Carapaz. Maybe we should take a look and see once again at the GC, because Carapaz, he did this in the Tour this year, and he's been slowly doing it this race as well, which is just coming on with the GC. And he looked very strong today. Now, Ben O'Connor's obviously in the lead. You got Roglic here, 5 seconds back. Enric Mas at 125, but just 20-some seconds or so, 21 seconds, it looks like, from Mas to Carapaz. And then, so that top 4 still has a chance. We saw this barn burner of a race a few years ago going up to the final climb. I'm trying to remember which stage it was, like 19 or 20. And Roglic gets dropped. Carapaz makes the move. Roglic saves his race at the very end by just 18 seconds or so. Ends up being in there. So that was you never know that can happen again. How good is Ben O'Connor and ITT? Maybe Roglic wants the drama on the last day. Yeah, maybe Roglic wants to repeat a thing. Had this going here. Maybe Roglic wants to do something that. I think it was at the Giro a few years ago with Dumoulin took over Nairo on the last day, completely fine. Or what Roglic did, he wants to have payback for the Planche de Belfi with Pogacar. Perhaps that's the case. It's not as dramatic. Ben O'Connor is not going to be able to time trial as good as Roglic. It's a flat time trial. It's all power. Let's go to the profile here. And it's not gonna. And look at this. It's all flat. It's 24.6 kilometers, and if you've got, it's going to be 30. Let's say it's even 30 seconds. He's easily going to take that out of Ben O'Connor, I believe. Now, I will say this though: when you have the leader's jersey, I think you end up riding differently, right? You dig maybe just a little bit deeper. You do everything you can. We've seen Ben O'Connor. They expect to take more time out of him, and he has been able to do what he can to keep this as good as he can up until now. Now the 20-second penalty that Roglic had the other day up the Covadonga, whatever it is, that's played into it. It's allowed him to do this, to stay in contact. I don't think you're going to see a Ben O'Connor be able to just out time trial them if they're within 5-10 seconds of each other. It's going to be done and over fairly quick as far as that goes. Okay, last few comments here. Deplorable Bitter says, I didn't win very many races, but I never wanted drama. Yeah, I guess you don't want drama. Drama on the last stage is good PR. Yes, it definitely is. Okay, thanks everybody for coming in. Check us out. We will be back tomorrow. As soon as the race is done, look for us about, let me double check my schedule. Sometimes, Tyler, can you actually do this with work tomorrow? Well, let's take a look here. The race, when it ends, I'm hoping to... Okay, let's try to do about 9:45 tomorrow. So why don't you guys all come in? We'll see you then. Hit the like, hit the subscribe button, and we will be here back again tomorrow. Who's going to win on the stage up tomorrow? I suspect at this point I'm going to start to put Carapaz above where I'm looking at with Roglic. You're right, Brian. He's not looking super great, so I think Carapaz has the way to do it. Is EF going to work their asses off to keep this in place tomorrow? Perhaps. There's the Cat 3, and then they have the big climb at the end. I don't think EF can actually control the race to that point, and we've seen way too many breaks going up the road. But if it's as far as the GC goes, I suspect Carapaz is going to be that. I will hope to see Sepp Kuss making some sort of comeback from what happened today, which I do. If you listen to the beginning here, I placed that all on his team. Let's send Kreuzwick up the road, who hasn't had a result since he ran into the snow in the Giro back in 2017 or so. He hasn't been riding good. Let's not put him up there. Let's keep someone back for Sepp to keep him in place and to help him pace his way up the climb. Much like Landa, look, he had 4 riders up the road. He lost position as well. I'm suspecting, I'll have to go back and review the tape, I'm suspecting they were out of position when this attack came, and they had to do too much work to try to get themselves up there. And by the time they did, they blew their engine, and then they had no support. Okay. Just discovered your channel. See you. Bye. Thank you, Stefan, for coming on. Been isolated almost every climbing stage. Yeah. Well, no, he's had Lipowitz. I don't think that's the case. Lipowitz has actually been doing some quite. So maybe go back and review that, Brian, to see if you are in fact correct. We'll see you guys tomorrow.